Okay.
We're in space.
Hello. I was just ruining the theme tune for Rich.
Yeah.
Even though we can't hear
Oh
it.
no, look, I've got my tag
Oh, what
on.
are you doing?
Let
You
me
okay?
Let me
What are you doing?
Let me just
Taking that off?
because I bought this lovely new T-shirt.
Yeah.
Just for the stream.
And
now I'm wearing this work tag, this security tag. Look, there you go.
there you go. Look at you can see.
Only got some subtle holes in it where the green is the same green as the background.
Yeah. You can see it imp sometimes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Tuesday stream, where Rich will be answering some how-tos that we've collected over the course of a couple of days. And you've actually taken a strategic route and compiled a few of them.
Into one thing. Well, what happened, Rich? What
Rich? Tell me about it.
I decided to prep my performance because I'm not actually the strongest at logic, but a lot of the questions were logic related.
Right.
So I thought, and one of them was like, can you show us how to make a shoot 'em up, like a shmup, a space shooter? And I was like, I don't know how to do that in 1 hour. So I came in here earlier and I set some things up and I asked a couple of designers questions.
Yeah.
And I've made you a little arcade space game where you can blast space monsters.
Space monsters, nice.
And I've incorporated some of the questions into that game.
And then we're going to answer a few more. And then if you've got any in the chat, then let us know. And if we've got time, we will squeeze them in. Should we start?
Yeah, we may have a special guest in a bit as well.
Oh, exciting. Okay, cool. So, do you want? So, shall we start with the first question? And how have you made your space shmup?
Right. Pulling back to reveal the wide shot.
A lot of love for your shirt in the chat.
Oh, thanks very much. It was a bargain.
Was it a bargain?
I got it in the second place, the place where they do stuff that was fashionable last year for discounted prices.
Very nice.
You know, I like a bargain.
Okay, so cool. Right,
where should we start?
Let us start with the basic logic behind a shmup.
Okay, so if I turn off preview invisibility, some things disappear, but obviously my tweak menus are still around. So I'm going to turn that back off again. I started off with the spaceship, so I wanted to make that move the way that I wanted it to move. Right. So I wanted it to be in 2 dimensions, and I wanted it to be a little bit like other top-down space shmups.
Yeah.
Where on the left stick you move around in the plane of movement, and on the right stick you face the direction you want to shoot in.
Right.
So over here, so I made this little triangle, and then I put a controller sensor on it, and a couple of splitters. And obviously, as anyone who's kind of fiddled around with moving things around and watched a few tutorials on YouTube, you'll know that if you split because the controller sticks have got X, what is it? It's X and Y, isn't it?
Yeah.
X and Y, plus and minus, and so that's 4 things. You've got positive X and negative X and positive Y and negative Y. So you have to split the X and Y signals from each other to get a -1 to +1.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what each of these things do, is they split that fat wire into 2 simple wires.
Nice.
And then you feed the left stick into a mover, advanced mover, into X and Z, because X is the in and out, not the up and down, which is what Y is. So you're turning Y into Z. And R gets split into X and Y. Now, this is the thing that Steve Big Gun showed me when I asked him nicely.
Yes.
How do you make the input from the right stick make the spaceship point in the direction that you're pushing the stick? He said, well, Richard.
Just like
he
that.
He did, just like that. Get a combiner and give it 3 inputs. And what that will make is an X, Y, Z signal coming out of the other end. So you put an input into A, which would become X, and Y, which would become Z, and which becomes Z, and then the Y output would remain empty. So this fat wire contains a signal from X and a signal from Z. So when you push that into the lookat rotator and you go over here, this gives you the scene space direction. Scene space direction.
See, that's the tough.
The reason I said space direction is because we're in space.
In space.
That's expecting an XYZ signal, and because we only want it to turn in those two axes, that's the only ones that it will operate in. So that's good. So that worked. Although I did have to fiddle around with stay upright was important because you didn't want it to flop about, and also turned down Y there to 0, just to make sure.
Right.
I think that was it. But anyway, we're going to publish this. You'll be able to fiddle around with it. You can customise it and make your own.
Make your own space.
The advanced move isn't very complicated. I gave it about 20 meters per second on the X and Z, which is what we wanted. And Y is obviously just left alone. That's about it. So that was controlling it.
Yeah.
Should we demo?
Demo it. Look at that.
So there's moving around in that plane. We'll show you the alien monsters in a minute. And that's pointing in the right direction. It's a bit laggy, but in a way it kind of makes it feel physical, which is nice, right? Don't forget this was bodged together in not a long time, so that's why it's a bit functional looking. On the spaceship, I also put an emitter on R1 to fire missiles. So these laser blasts, there's an object, it's simply a glowing box with a microchip on it. That microchip is this one. So I've put a tag on it to call it bullet, when really it should be called laser. In fact, it doesn't really even need... In fact, that should... I've done this bit wrong.
iDie says a great tip about scene space direction.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Outputs. Currently modifying. Right, I'm going to get rid of that and plug that into there and that into there. What that does is this health modifier means if anything with a health manager that is labelled foe, or anything that isn't a friend, comes into that zone, which is set here, zone, will take one hit of 20 damage, right? And when it does do a hit, it will kill the missile off with the destroyer by making it disappear, and it'll make a noise.
A noise, which
an impact noise.
Very happy with the noises, aren't we?
Yes, we love a noise. We do love a good noise. You mustn't forget about the audio. It's very important when you're making a game. So the emitter over here fires out these lasers. They only last for half a second, but they're moving quite fast, 30 meters per second, and they fire 1 second apart, and you have to press it one. Each button press fires one laser. We don't put it on continuous because that would be outrageous. And then we just to keep things cheaper, you can only have 3 on screen at once, and it recycles them. So there we go. And I think I've also turned off the collision on them because they don't need collision. So let me just demonstrate. Look at that, looks quite good, doesn't it?
It looks very good. You should be proud of it.
For a cheapo effect. Right. Now, let's talk about the space monsters.
Space monsters, because someone did ask about how to make AI.
Oh, yeah, right. So AI, when you think about AI, what you should think about is kind of like moods. Artificial intelligence is all about moods. So each creature or whatever character you're trying to give AI to will have states. We call it a state machine in coding, even though I'm not a coder. But I call them moods because it's an AI. It has to feel things. It can only feel one mood at a time.
Right.
So what I would do, and I haven't done it here because I didn't have time, but you would have a selector usually. And then what you would do is, depending on the various conditions acting upon the character, it will go into one of however many states you give it. So one state would probably be its idle state, and that would be the top thing in the selector.
Yeah.
And that might just be standing around not doing very much.
In space.
Scratching its arse and, like looking around.
Yeah.
And then you might have, if it detects an enemy within 10 metres, it goes into terrified state and starts running away from the enemy.
Makes sense.
So in that case, when those conditions are met, it switches the selector to the second state, which is terrified, and then the terrified state would probably power on a microchip that contains all the logic for that behaviour, which would be a follower set to flee from things marked as enemy, and then your character would run away from the thing he doesn't like.
Which is sensible.
And then you might have another state which is triggered by the player maybe going near it, which is, follow, because the player has to lead them to safety. So it might be that if the player comes within a certain distance of the character, that it will go into a follow state, which will power off the other microchip and power on the follow microchip, which will contain a follower, which follows the player and stays within a certain distance of the player, and then the player can take the little person and put them in a safe place away from the baddies. And it can work for any set of moods or states. And the selector's quite nice because it's simple. It's not an expensive piece of logic.
Right. Okay, nice.
Does that make sense?
That does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
So that's how I've been told it works.
That's how it works.
Actually, our special guest in a little while will be able to fill us in a little bit more detail. Anyway, so I'm back onto these space monsters. So the space monsters they're spawned by this space monster generator, the monster emitter. That's very simply a box which is invisible. It's got a follower on it which follows the player around and stays within about 10 metres.
Yeah.
You can't see it, but what it does do is every so often it emits a space monster.
A space monster, yeah.
Yeah. And the
do.
space monsters try and run away from you, but they won't run away too far. They'll probably get 10 to 20 metres away, and then they'll just hang around.
Because they believe they're safe.
Well, because I don't want them to bugger off into the distance, and you can never find them. So you need the monsters to be fairly near to keep it fun, but not so near that it becomes easy. They need to run away, and it's a very simple AI, which is basically run away from the player, a bit like playing catch,
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a lot of time, but I wanted them to behave in some way.
Yeah. And you had initially made it a bit too hard for yourself, hadn't you?
Yeah, because I hadn't set the minimum distance, so they were just running away and not stopping.
Yeah.
So I had to.
They were gone.
So I had to set it in this is it here, the fleeing thing. They're fleeing from the player. They travel at about 8.7 metres. That was just a random number, really. And they don't get more than 10 metres. When they get 10 metres away, they'll stop fleeing. They'll be like, oh, I'm safe now.
Yeah, they're hiding.
We could even turn that down a bit, just to keep it even fruitier. And we could actually turn up the minimum distance, couldn't we? That would probably be a good idea. Let's do it on 0.5 metre. Okay, so the monsters move only in one plane, and that's done here. They shouldn't really be moving in Y, so I'm going to turn that. Oh yeah, that's right. The Y strength is down and the Y damping is down. So that means they only move in one plane. and they're running away, and I've got a gyroscope on them to keep them flat because the follower thing doesn't have a keep upright option, so I use a gyroscope instead.
Nice.
Although I've actually turned off collisions on the monsters because they don't need to be collided with because of the health. Because the health modifier on the laser has a zone instead of an impact thing, the aliens don't need to have collision. So they'll just detect when they're near a shot.
Yeah.
And they'll take damage. And what that means is if the spaceship crashes into them, it will just go straight through them.
Gunslinger.
Sorry.
Gunslinger Plays in the chat is the person who asked for this, and they say thank you very much.
And I was almost going to say I can't do a shmup in an hour, but then I thought no, I'm going to challenge myself. And I've never made a shmup.
Says you're all a bunch of awesome chaps.
So I put a health manager on it to give it hit points.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to call it, health. And then what happens is every time a missile, one of these lasers, goes within a certain range of the space monster, it takes 20 damage of its 59.9 health.
60.
So it takes about 3 hits to blow it up. And then when it blows up, when it loses health, so this is one of the other things we had. If we move that out of the way, this is this thing here. It's a number display. When you hit it, a number pops out. So that's what this emitter does. It pops out the number to say how much damage it's taken, and that was one of the other questions we had.
Yes, someone. Let me get the person's name while you continue your bits and pieces.
Now, what you could do is have it so that the modifier here, the value on the modifier, which is here -20, could go into a wireless transmitter, and that could go into the text displayer, which would then give you a live action amount of damage depending on what had hit it. Now I know it's only going to be -20 because it's the only thing in the scene that's going to hit it, so -20. But if you're in a game where different hits can do different damage, you could do it with a wireless transmitter.
Yes.
So that all your different damages are going into this and telling it how much damage it's doing, so that when it emits, it's a different number each time, depending on how much damage it takes. So I thought I'd do that with an emitter, so you could see how to do that in your game, which you were just talking about on Twitter. Now, when the space monster takes enough damage, when it also gets hit, it goes red, so you know it's been hit, because it's always good to have feedback. And when it's got no health left, the destroyer gets rid of the space monster. It emits this explosion, which I took from the MM starter kit.
Yeah, someone was just commenting that the explosion looks awesome.
That's because I didn't make it.
No!
John Beach made it.
Richard.
What?
You'd make an excellent explosion.
I would, but
I'm sure.
You know what? There's a lot of cool stuff that someone's already made on Dreamiverse. So if you're trying to save time, I highly recommend it. Also, when the space monster is destroyed, it makes a sonic boom noise. Now we triggered that off no health because if we put it onto the destroyer, it destroys the noise before it can play. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
We had a little bit of a wibble with that one.
Oh yeah, it made a good sound, but now it makes an awesome sound.
Yes. So what was the last thing? Is that about it? Oh, I'm going to talk about the stars in a minute.
Oh yes, because that was another question.
But let's just have a look at these space monsters, right? Obviously, you could add more detail to this. See, because of the AI that we've created, the alien space monsters are always kind of close by, so you never run out of things to blow up. Evil space monsters, and there's the explosion in full effect, thanks to John Beach, and you get the little numbers popping out. Now you could set your emitter up to emit as many of those as you want. I don't know why mine's only hitting a certain amount of times, but It's good enough. It's good enough for me, kittens.
Very good. You should be happy with it.
So I'm going to release that.
Yeah, sure do. Do you want to talk about your stars?
Yeah, let's talk about the stars. So
Yeah,
I've also got...
This is a question from FBN Multimedia on Twitter. How about how to do a Starfield Dustfield that stays and persists positionally?
Right,
I said that in one go, didn't I? What do I mean?
That's better.
Skepso, is this your first? Asks, why haven't I followed you guys sooner? Well,
know.
we're glad you're here now. Hello.
Sun and Sky changes the background from that sort of default background. I turned off the horizon because we're in space, and I made it dark blue so it looks like space. And I brought the fog in a bit, so it looks a bit like space. Although there's no fog in space.
Wow, I
turned off shadows because it would be cheaper because there's nothing to cast shadows onto. That's about it, really.
Someone in the chat says it's pretty thorough and advanced. Someone not into code, as Rich is.
Well,
which is a good example.
As
Abby
the
said
thing
in the
with
chat.
game design, if you start simple and build on it, you could make this all singing and all dancing. This is quite simple. I threw this together in less than an hour.
Yeah, but so many of our team have they've got a focus, but then they've also found an enjoyment out of other bits through Dreams, which is great.
I love Dreams because as a game creator, you really get time to just play in that. Do you know what I mean? Prototyping games without Dreams is quite hard. You need to learn Unity or coding or scripting or anything like that. Or you need to sit at a PC or a Mac or whatever and do, fiddle around with 3D modeling, go between lots of packages. It's just super expensive and time consuming and all that. In Dreams, you can sit in your living room, fiddle about and actually make stuff that's really cool.
Yeah.
And you can do whatever you feel like. It's like, okay, I'm making this game. I might focus on the art for a bit. I'm getting bored of that. I'm going to do a bit of sound and make it even cooler. And you can get lost down little rabbit holes.
Oh, yeah, you definitely, yeah.
Making AI and making your explosions look good and all that. Or you can go on the Dreamiverse and find a better cucumber or whatever.
A better
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, you got that.
So anyway, yes, this Starfield was the last thing I was going to talk about.
Yes, yeah, then we'll move on to other questions.
That's just a single fleck painting. So if I turn off duplicate, I can't even find it now. There it is. This is the Starfield here. And all I did was turn on duplicate around camera. And then you set these settings so I can turn up the number of copies. I can make more stars. I can make them closer together, which I don't want to do. I can scale jitter them so I can make some bigger and some smaller so they're a little bit random. I could even do that so they're all in different orientations, but I kind of wanted them all to face the camera, so I left them all facing upwards. Now, if you wanted them to be more random than that, you could create a cluster which would use slightly different flecks and then do duplicates, and then you'd get a little bit more variety, but you don't need to do that. I'm going to just make that... Oh. Just fiddling.
Someone in chat says, "Hey, how can you make speed trails, fluffy dust appear behind certain characters when they are running or using a special power?"
Fluffy dust.
That's actually Steve Big Guns with his dog, with his pug character.
Well, all you need to do is trigger. See if you've got a timeline. Yeah.
Yeah.
which you usually have a timeline to animate a character. So on the timeline, you can set your keyframes, which is how you animate. In fact, we should talk about this when we get our special
When we get
guest.
the other one.
What time is it, by the way?
25 past 5.
All right,
What time?
5 minutes, we'll summon our guest,
Okay,
shall we?
nice.
Which is quite good timing, I
Yeah,
think.
yes.
Okay, so
Well, I'll check. See if
I'm just going to try something out, which I think will work, which is to get a painting, make a splat, make it like a yellow colour, and actually make it orange. Put it in tentacle snap. If you don't know what tentacle snap means, it means that the first bit you put down will snap like surface snap, but then you can draw away from that surface. So like this, I can do this. Way. So if I do that, and then I tweak that, and I make it glow. Ooh.
There's your new UI sounds in Dreams.
I make the best.
You're making new UI sounds.
No, not that bit. I want to tail that off so it tapers off towards the end. And then I'm going to ruffle it a bit. And I'm going to make it a bit looser. And emboss. Impasto will make the particles a bit more three-dimensional. Then I'm going to... it's not going to look amazing because what we're going to have to do is... Oh no, it's going to get complicated again.
Don't stress yourself, Rich.
Oh.
Don't stress yourself.
Wait, I know. Let me try something complicated. I've never done it before, but we'll figure it out, kittens. You and me together.
We're going on this journey together.
Right, movement sensor is going to detect speed. So we're saying detect my overall velocity, and we want to put that into a... I'm not sure what... I think what we need to do is... How do I normalise a value? Do you know?
I don't, I'm sorry. You might be able to ask.
Let's just plug it in and see what happens. In fact, what we can do, actually, if you want to find out what numbers a signal generator is popping out, all you have to do is go in here. Oh, no, it's in there. Get a slider. Stick that there. Get your movement sensor. Overall velocity. Plug it into there. And then I think if the maximum... Oh, I don't know. Anyway, what we're going to do is the end of the trail. See, look at that. Right, we're going to do that. We're going to plug that into there. What that means is that will get longer depending on how fast you're going. But the other thing we're going to do is we're going to animate it. Let's just see how fast that... Oh, we can't see it now. That's a bit annoying, isn't it? So I turned that thing off.
There it is.
Right, okay. So let's make that a bit slower, because it's a bit ridiculously fast. Let's see what that does now. Just a bit... Oh, well, I mean, it will work. It's fine. I'm going to make it a little bit more transparent. I hope this works. And then the magic bit is to put it on Jet Trail. Yay! And then see if that works. Jet Trail, what that means is... Let's just see if that works.
There it is.
Oh, blimey. That was a bit silly, wasn't it?
Oh, blimey.
What we need to do is put grid mode on, grab the trail, and then I think we've grouped it, haven't we? Is it in the group?
Yeah,
Yes.
nice.
Right, now that should work. Please work. Oh, why not?
Oh no.
Should we summon our special
Shall
guest?
we?
Because they'll be able
Come
to
on
help.
in.
Should we summon the Kevin?
Alright, the Kevin is coming.
Kevin is coming.
Kevin's listening right now.
Is he listening?
Yeah.
Is he on the chat?
No. He's just listening to us. He's coming. He says he's coming.
Right. We're casting a magic spell into the cosmos.
That is our studio in
The
Guildford.
all-powerful Kevin.
Okay, so we've covered up how to make like a starry sky. You can hear him coming.
Why isn't my
Could hear you coming.
jet trail attached to my
He's
spaceship?
got a serious question.
Can you help me?
Yeah, there's a microphone there for you, Kevin, at the end of the sofa.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hello, Kevin.
Kevin!
Our spell worked.
I'm very chilled right now.
Put
Very.
your wallet away.
Sorry,
You're not
sorry.
going shopping. How do I make this jet trail attached to the spaceship? It's in a group, but it's
So
not.
when you run time, it doesn't move with it.
No.
It's probably because your circuit with the movement logic is on the object, not on the group. So before you grouped it,
What?
the logic was on the spaceship.
Right.
When you grouped it, the logic's still on the
bums.
spaceship.
Okay, so if I grab,
So if you scope in,
if I scope into there,
that's it.
yeah,
Pick
grab
up the
that.
circuit, scope out,
Scope out and then-
surface snap, yeah.
Oh,
It's
bums.
a bit of a dance with the fingers to do that one.
Does that
was
work?
Right. I think that was right.
Yay! And then when I slow down, that should. Oh yeah, that's it. It's a bit rough, but it's not bad. How do I make that look better?
What do you want to make it better about it?
I tell you what. Let's just